Please welcome our MC to the stage, Near Foundation's William Rayner.
Thank you. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Layer 2 stage. Hopefully you all are able to grab a few of the sandwiches downstairs, maybe see a few of the booths before coming back. I'm glad y'all came back at 1 because we have a very exciting talk. A few things I want to mention before. If you were here in the earlier talks, you would have seen I had a blue t-shirt on. Now I have this awesome NEARCON hoodie. You can go to the swag store downstairs right at the entrance, and you can actually send some of your NEARCON to the swag store, get a hoodie. This was like 40 NCon tokens, so it's all pretty easy. So I'd highly recommend you go check that out. Also, just so you all know, if you miss any of the talks, we have cameras in the back and also one right here that all of this video and all of these talks will be put onto YouTube post-conference. So if there's a talk at the Hacker House or Layer 1 panel that you miss, you can always check it out after the fact. My keyword, I didn't forget, is potato. So next slide, please. Great, yes, we have a great talk coming up from Rebecca Allen from Contented about supercharging the future of content marketing. Rebecca joins us from the UK, and a fun fact about Rebecca is she actually knows how to land a small plane. So if you're from the UK and you're flying back, maybe you hope she's on your flight just in case. Please welcome Rebecca Allen.
Hello. Thank you for making it after lunch as well. I thought I might have an empty room, so I appreciate that. So I'm here today to talk about the future of content marketing and how the combination of blockchain, AI, and human creativity is about to take it to the next level. I've personally been working in the content marketing industry for nearly 2 decades now, working with brands from JP Morgan Chase right through to Lego. So this is a subject very close to my heart, and I'm very excited to bring it to the world of Web3. So speaking very broadly, content marketing is the use of the creation and distribution of content to engage with your target audiences as a brand. So whilst we are talking about the future here, I want to start by actually going back to the past. So just a quick show of hands, does anyone know where the term soap opera comes from? 1, we have 2 takers. Okay, all right, for the rest of you, it's actually from these guys. Has it moved? No. Yeah, these guys. So back in the 1930s, there was something called soap operas were invented by actually soap manufacturers, the likes of Procter & Gamble, the Lever Brothers, as they are now known as Unilever, more about them later. And they actually created and sponsored dramatized serials, first on radio in the 1930s, and then in television in the 1950s. And this is one of the earliest examples of brands getting into content marketing, and consumer brands in particular. The association they wanted to make there, and their target audience was women doing housework at home, was be kind of real-life context with real-life stories that those dramas were trying to portray. So fast forward to today, and the content marketing industry looks very, very different. Thousands of channels, millions of potential creators, many formats. And it's now worth $465 billion worldwide in 2023. It's growing still at 13% a year. And the space that we're playing in, which is particularly content for social with a bias towards video, is actually growing at a rate of 26% a year. So huge opportunity. But here's the thing. Whilst the creative execution has got a lot more sophisticated, whilst digital means that we can segment our audience to the nth degree, way past those kind of housewives back in the 1950s, the actual underlying process to a lot of this content creation hasn't actually changed that much in all those years. We're going to change all that. So, okay. So why is it a problem at the moment? So it can be an extremely clunky process for brands. So sourcing content can be very time-consuming and very expensive. There are often multiple agencies involved, resulting in bloated costs and slow delivery. And running global campaigns is particularly challenging for global brands because to resonate with local audiences in a way that's relevant and in context for them, culturally, as well as everything else, is extremely difficult to do. So you either end up as a global brand with very generic kind of beige messaging and imagery, Or you spend up to 9 months trying to source content from local agencies and get those local perspectives. By then, in a central campaign, you've lost momentum and very hard to kind of get control over. But either way, in a time when CMOs are increasingly being asked to do more with less, and testament to that, I was literally at a conference last week where every CMO was saying that they have to be innovative, they have to be creative, but you've got to do it on less budget. This is a huge challenge. And then the side of the creator, it's also, they don't get a great deal either. The traditional models are rarely on their side. It's really hard for them to control how to control and monetize where and how their content's being used. And often a brief can start one way, and it's known in the industry as scope creep, can end up somewhere very different. So particularly as a freelancer, you can end up doing a lot of work that you're not actually able to charge for. It also tends to be pretty opaque when it comes to knowing what percentage of the revenue of the content spend is actually going to you as a creator. So that can be true of agencies, but actually if you also take the likes of traditional stock image libraries, so such as Getty or Shutterstock, the creator has got squeezed and squeezed and squeezed to the point now where they're getting as little as 15% of the royalties that brands are paying for that content. We think that's wrong, and we want to turn that on its head. So that's what's broken. What are we going to do about it? So at Contented, we're building an ecosystem that connects brands with the most diverse range of content creators from across the globe, and it brings better profitability to both sides, crucially. How are we doing that? So we're combining the power of blockchain technology, we are of course built on NEAR, thank you NEAR, and AI to supercharge this process. But, and this is important, we're keeping human creativity at the heart of it. I'll do a little bit on the product, but not too much, it's not a demo session. But it starts with our smart brief process. So if a brand has a very, very clear idea of what they want, they can put a very prescriptive brief in there, and we will match them to the right creators. Or if they're at the beginning of their content creation journey and want to actually co-create, particularly if they're going out to lots of different markets, there's the option to do that through the smart brief process too. We'll then find and match creators that fit the brief, and we'll provide a shortlist to the brands who can take a look at their profile, and they can shortlist further. And then creators with the profiles on the platform can also browse visible briefs and express their interest. We've got non-disclosure agreements built in, so once signed, brands and creators can collaborate on the production of the content through the platform. And then finally, we're integrating with all the main distribution channels, so be that websites, programmatic advertising, socials, etc. So when we've finished building out the ecosystem, you're going to be able to do everything from kind of start to finish seamlessly. And then finally, we're also building a smart library of searchable stock imagery and videos. So that's going to be a mixture of professional, content from partners, but just everyday UGC content that a brand might want to use that's been captured in the moment spontaneously. So I'm not going to go any deeper into the product, but if anyone wants any more information, obviously let me know. But I want to talk about those three elements in turn that we're utilizing and bringing together. So the application of blockchain and why. So firstly, decentralization brings massive efficiencies to back office operations. So that gives us a huge advantage over other platform and agency models. Proof of provenance and usage rights is a really big one. And this is only going to accelerate with all the Gen AI debate going on at the moment. That's going to get very, very complicated, but we're starting off with obviously smart contracts being key there. And then finally, payments is a game changer. So we're setting up the system as such that as soon as a piece of content is licensed or approved, payment to the creator is immediate. The thing I didn't say about the creator's challenges as well is, as a freelancer, you're often the last to get paid. Chasing invoices is horrible. So we are confident that we're going to be able to attract the best of creators by giving them a fairer deal on the compensation, but also treating them as you would a key supplier and an immediate payment. So AI, so we're utilizing existing AI technology, and we're also building our own to really be able to scale our offering at speed. So that includes matching the right creators to the or library content to the brief, and feeding performance data into the smart brief process, which over time is going to get smarter and smarter and make suggestions for more predictable results for your content. And then through the Creator Studio, we're putting cost-efficient AI tools in the hands of the creators to 10x, maybe even 100x their productivity. But again, we are keeping humans in the loop, but it's about supercharging those creators and their work and making them more productive. So to give you an idea of the kind of scale we're looking at, we're speaking to one of the world's largest global advertisers, it's a fizzy drink, about having a central brief that's got their brand guidelines and a general centralized campaign brief, but actually having that put out to 60 different markets to have local creators react to that brief, bring their cultural context and reference points to make sure that it really resonates locally with all those different markets. That's probably phase 2. It's a bit of an ask at the moment, but we're starting smaller. And then finally, the people, the very important bit. A lot of the brands we're speaking to, they are interested in Gen AI, they're fascinated by it, but they're also telling us that they've got an unmet need for really authentic content and original content featuring real people that engages all of their different target audiences. And as I said earlier, it can be a very time-consuming process to do that centrally and go to lots of different local agencies. Our dream is to be able to say one brief, multiple markets at once. So the creator community we're building is a mix of professionals and emerging creators. So that can be your accidental kind of photographer that's captured something amazing, or someone who wants to become a creator. And it's completely democratic, so anyone can come and build a profile on the platform and build a reputation. Diversity inclusion is an imperative for brands now, and there's a really increasing pressure for marketing and advertising to be truly representative of the audience it's aimed at. So there's still a lot of work to be done in this area. But it's not just about having diversity in front of the camera. It also tackles it from a very narrow perspective. It's also about having diversity behind the camera. And this can often mean representation beyond the kind of usual groups you'd think about when you thought about diversity. The other thing about diversity, apart from just being a box-ticking exercise, as it shouldn't be, is that actually it brings more creativity and innovation if everyone brings fresh and different perspectives. So this is something that Unilever, I said I'd come back to them, is actively championing. So they recently brought out an open source kind of manifesto toolkit on inclusivity in their brand content production. So just to give you some context, Unilever, brands you may have heard of like Marmite, Dove, there's lots. They've got 400 in 190 countries. So it's a complete behemoth now. And if this is their direction of travel, I'm likely to bet it's going to be the case for a lot of brands. So what we're also building in, again using blockchain, is tracking diversity amongst the creator pool that a brand is using. So we're doing that in lots of different ways, but we're launching it from day one because we're making the bet that this is actually going to be a very, very important thing to be able to evidence instead of just talking the talk when it comes to diversity, but actually showing you're walking the walk. And sticking with Unilever, I'm very happy to say that our very first brief on the platform is going live tomorrow, and it's going to be for one of Unilever's iconic beauty brands. You might have heard of the campaign for Real Beauty, which turns 20 next year. That might give you a clue as to who it is. The brief we're putting live tomorrow is actually for men, for personal care and grooming. As I said, it's open to everyone on this platform. If you'd like to create a profile, if you'd like a little side hustle, make a little bit of money working for this brand, then you'll be able to create a profile from next week. Let me know if you want to do that. So, just to summarize, we believe the future of content marketing is going to be supercharged by bringing these three elements together in a really smart way. And we're already certain of some of the problems we can solve today. But it's got way more potential than that. So looking into the future, how do I see this playing out? Well, I see the creative agency model being disrupted in a very big way, which is going to open up a lot for a lot of people. Barriers between brands and creators are already starting to break down as they lean into the idea of communities. Creative directors could build teams to answer complex briefs on the platform fast. Brands won't have to pay for what I tend to call strategic beard stroking as people think up their campaigns. And a game changer will be that through blockchain, transparent revenue sharing will make these projects very attractive for the best talent. And the brands are going to know exactly what they're paying for. I think the bloated and opaque system that currently operates in many ways the same as it always has for decades, since those early days of the soap opera, is going to change as decentralization comes into the mainstream. And by onboarding global brands and thousands of creators, hopefully some of them will be you, I want Contented to be part of that story. Thank you very much for listening. And if you want to connect,